Mark had never expected his quiet life on Earth to change so suddenly. He was a simple man, working as a technician at a small space exploration company. Nothing in his everyday routine hinted at the extraordinary events that would soon come. Knocking on his door, years ago, when Mark was younger and full of dreams. He had traveled to a distant planet called Laura. The mission was tough, and the planet was strange. Its sky shimmered with colors he had never seen, and the air smelled faintly of something sweet. During that trip, he met someone who changed his life, though at the time, he did not fully understand it. Her name was Nira. Nira was an alien woman from Laura. She was unlike anyone Mark had ever met. Her skin glowed softly under the planet's twin suns, and her eyes reflected the colors of the sky. She moved with grace and spoke in a voice that sounded like music. Their meeting was brief. Mark was part of a group sent to explore the planet, but Nira was a member of the local people. They could barely understand each other, but Mark remembered feeling a strange connection to her. Before they parted ways, with the sun setting behind the purple mountains, Mark said simply, "You are beautiful." That was all. No promises, no plans, just a quiet moment shared between two strangers from different worlds. Years passed. Mark returned to Earth, where life went on. He worked, made friends, and lived quietly. But the memory of Nira stayed with him, like a soft light in the back of his mind. Then, one ordinary day, everything changed. Mark was sitting in his small apartment when a strange message appeared. On his screen, it was not from anyone he knew. The language was alien, but his computer's translator quickly made it clear. The message was from Nira. She said she was coming to Earth. More than that, she wanted to speak to him about something important. Mark stared at the message, heart pounding. Could it really be her? After all this time, he replied, his fingers shaking slightly. "Yes, I will meet you." The days passed slowly as Mark prepared. He wondered what she would say, why she was coming, and what this all meant. Finally, the day arrived. At the city's spaceport, Mark waited nervously. The crowds moved around him, but his eyes stayed fixed on the gate. Then, she appeared. Nira stepped out of the ship, her glowing skin shining even under Earth's sunlight. She looked the same, yet different. She was no longer just an alien stranger. She carried the presence of a queen, or someone with great importance. Mark walked forward. "Nira," he said softly. She smiled. "Mark," she replied, her voice still like music. "I have come because I remember the word you said long ago. Beautiful." Those words stayed with me. Mark nodded, unsure what to say. Nira continued, "On Laura, words like that carry great meaning. They are promises. When you call me beautiful, you unknowingly made a bond between us." Mark blinked. "A bond?" "Yes," Nira said. "In my world, beauty is not just about how someone looks. It is about trust, respect, and the future. Your words meant more than you realized." Mark took a deep breath. "I didn't know. I was just being honest." Nira's eyes softened. "And that honesty has brought me here. I want to be with you, Mark. I want to be your wife." The words hung in the air. Mark's mind raced. 1,000 questions filled his head. How could this be? Why him? What did this mean for his life? The crowd around them began to notice the unusual meeting. Phones lifted to take pictures. Reporters whispered. Mark felt the weight of attention, but all he could focus on was Nira's calm, steady gaze. "Your world and mine are very different," Nira said quietly, "but I believe we can find a way to live together, to learn from each other." Mark nodded slowly. "I want to understand, but this is all so new. Can we take time?" Nira smiled gently. "Yes, we will learn together." As the sun set, casting long shadows over the city, Mark realized his life would never be the same. The alien woman he once called beautiful had come back not as a stranger, but as someone who wanted to share a future. Mark did not know what the future held, but he knew one thing clearly. This was only the beginning. If you want, I can continue with part 2 next. Would you like me to write it now? The city buzzed with excitement and curiosity the morning Nira stepped onto Earth's soil. News reports were everywhere. People talked about the alien woman who wanted to marry a human. Some were amazed, others were doubtful or afraid. But for Mark, everything felt both strange and wonderful. Nira had come with her own ship, a small vessel that looked like a shining crystal. It gleamed softly under the sunlight as it hovered above the spaceport. People stared. Cameras flashed, but Nira moved with calm confidence. Her glowing skin and bright eyes made her stand out, but she did not seem scared or nervous. Mark waited near the landing area, watching her carefully as she stepped down. He noticed small details he had not seen before. Nira wore a long dress, made of light, flowing fabric that shimmered like the night sky. Around her neck was a simple necklace, shaped like a star. Mark wondered if it was a gift or a symbol from her world. Nira smiled warmly when she saw him. "Mark," she said, her voice soft but clear, "thank you for coming to meet me." Mark smiled back, still feeling a little unsure. "I'm glad you came. Earth can be a bit overwhelming." Nira nodded. "I have learned about your world from my people, but seeing it with my own eyes is different. Everything feels new." Mark noticed how carefully she looked around. The tall buildings, the cars moving fast on the streets, the people walking by, it was all a strange sight to her. He felt a sudden wish to protect her from the strange and noisy city. "We should get you somewhere quiet," Mark said. "A place where you can rest and we can talk." Nira agreed. Together, they left the busy spaceport behind, moving toward a small, peaceful home Mark had prepared for her visit. Inside the house, Nira took time to explore. She touched the walls gently, looking at the pictures on the shelves, the furniture, and even the small plants by the window. "This place is simple," she said, smiling, "but it feels peaceful." Mark nodded. "It's home. It's where I live." Nira looked at him with deep eyes. "Your home is different from mine. On Laura, we live in cities made of glass and light. But I think this place is full of something important, warmth." Mark smiled, feeling a connection growing between them after a while. Nira asked a question that Mark had been waiting for. "Mark, I want to explain why I came here to be with you." Mark sat quietly, waiting. "In my world, marriage is a promise between two people," Nira said. "It is a bond that joins hearts, minds, and futures. When you called me beautiful all those years ago, you unknowingly made a promise to me. It was more than words." Mark thought hard. "But I didn't. No, I didn't mean to make a promise." Nira's expression was gentle. "Sometimes promises are made without knowing, and sometimes they are the most important." Mark looked into her eyes and saw honesty and hope. "So, you want to marry me?" "Yes." Nira said simply. "I want to be your wife, to share life, to learn, and to grow together." Mark felt a mixture of emotions: fear, surprise, joy, and a strange excitement. "But what does marriage mean for you?" Mark asked. Nira smiled softly. "It means loyalty, trust, and partnership. It means sharing everything: your joys, your fears, your hopes. It means standing together through all challenges." Mark thought about his own world. Marriage was a choice, a bond of love and respect. But with Nira, it felt like something deeper, something that could change both their worlds. As they talked, a sudden knock came at the door. Mark opened it to find two people in dark suits standing there. "We are from Earth's Space Authority," one of them said. "We have questions about your visitor, Nira." Mark felt a sudden tension in the room. "What do you want?" "We need to understand more about her and her intentions," the man said firmly. "Her presence has raised concerns at the highest levels." Nira stepped forward calmly. "I came here with peaceful intentions. I want to build a future with Mark. I mean no harm to Earth." The men exchanged looks but did not argue. "We will need to ask more questions later," one said. "For now, please cooperate." Mark closed the door and turned back to Nira. "This will be harder than I thought." Nira nodded. "I know, but together we can face anything." That night, Mark and Nira sat together in the quiet house. The city's noise felt far away. Mark watched her closely. She seemed both strong and gentle, carrying the weight of two worlds on her shoulders. "I want to help you," Mark said, "but I don't know what to do next." Nira smiled. "We will learn." one step at a time. Mark reached out, taking her hand. It felt warm and real. "Thank you for trusting me," he said softly. "And thank you for being honest with me," Nira replied. Outside, the stars shone bright in the night. Sky and two worlds had come together, and their journey was just beginning. The days after Nira's arrival were full of both wonder and challenge. Mark and Nira tried their best to understand each other's worlds, but it was not always easy. The differences between Earth and Laura were greater than either of them expected. Nira found Earth strange and noisy. The machines, cars, and tall buildings confused her. She missed the quiet glow of her home planet and the gentle sounds of Laura's forests. Mark noticed how often she would stand by the window at night, looking up at the stars, as if searching for something familiar. One afternoon, Mark took Nira to a local market. It was full of colors, smells, and people from all walks of life. For Mark, it was normal, but for Nira, it was a new world. She looked around, touching the fruits, feeling the fabrics, and watching the busy vendors. "Your world is full of life," she said softly. "But it moves very fast," Mark laughed. "It can be overwhelming, yes, but it's also full of good things, friends, food, music." Nira smiled. "I want to learn all of it." Mark wanted to share more, but he also knew Nira was trying hard to understand his world. There were many things she found difficult. The way people spoke quickly, the many rules, and even the idea of time itself. On Laura, time was not measured by clocks, but by the changing colors of the sky dot at the same time. Mark began to learn about Nira's culture. She showed him pictures of her home planet, crystal cities that shone like stars, gardens that floated in the air, and people who lived in harmony with nature. Her people valued honor, respect, and the connection between all living things. One evening, Nira shared a story about marriage on Laura. "In my world," she said, "marriage is not just between two people. It is a joining of families, communities, and promises to protect each other forever. It is sacred." Mark listened carefully. "That sounds very different from Earth, but I like the idea of promises and respect." Nira nodded. "Yes, that is why I chose you, Mark, because your promise was honest and kind." Mark felt touched but also worried. "Nira, I want to respect your culture, but I am afraid. People on Earth might not understand. They might fear what they do not know." Nira looked at him with strength in her eyes. "Fear comes from not knowing. If we teach them, show them who we are, maybe they will learn." Mark agreed. "We can try." But the challenges soon became clearer. At work, Mark noticed strange looks and whispers. Some colleagues avoided him. Rumors about Nira spread quickly. Mark heard people saying things like, "Is it safe? Can we trust her?" One day, his boss called him into the office. "Mark," the boss said, "we have received orders to monitor your relationship with this alien visitor. There are concerns about security." Mark felt angry but tried to stay calm. "Nira is peaceful. She wants to learn and help." The boss nodded slowly. "I understand, but the world is scared. You must be careful." Mark left the office with a heavy heart. At home, Nira sensed the tension. "Is something wrong?" she asked. Mark sighed. "People are afraid. They do not understand us." Nira held his hand. "Then we must show them who we are, not with words, but with actions." Together, they planned to introduce Nira to Mark's close friends and neighbors. They wanted people to see that Nira was kind, gentle, and curious just like any other person. The day of the meeting arrived. Mark invited a small group to his home. At first, the guests were nervous and unsure. Nira greeted them with a soft smile and respectful bow. She spoke carefully, using Mark's help to translate slowly. The room relaxed. Nira told stories of her home, shared food she had brought from Laura, and listened to their questions with patience. One neighbor, a woman named Sarah, asked, "What made you choose Mark?" Nira looked at Mark warmly. "Because he saw me as I am, not as a stranger or a threat." He was honest and kind. The group smiled. The fear in their eyes softened. After the meeting, Mark felt hopeful. Maybe things could change. But not everyone was ready. A few days later, Mark received a strange message on his phone. It was a warning from someone unknown. Be careful. Not everyone wants peace between your worlds. Mark showed the message to Nira. She frowned. There are those who do not accept our bond. They see it as danger. Mark's worry grew. What can we do? Nira took a deep breath. We must stay strong. We must keep teaching. Keep showing love and respect. That is the only way. Mark nodded. I will stand by you. Together. They looked out at the city lights, knowing their journey was just beginning. The road ahead would be hard, but they believed in each other and in the hope that two different worlds could become one. Mark and Nira's days together had become a mix of joy and challenge. They learned about each other's worlds, shared stories, and planned for the future. But not all was peaceful. A shadow was growing, one they could no longer ignore. One clear morning, as Mark prepared breakfast, his phone beeped with an urgent message. It was from a contact at the Earth Space Authority. Mark, urgent news. An alien group from Nira's home world is approaching Earth. They are not friendly. We need you and Nira to be careful. Mark's heart raced. Nira, we have to talk. Nira looked at him with calm but serious eyes. I have sensed trouble. Some from my world do not accept our union. They believe it is a betrayal. Mark frowned. What do they want? They want to stop us, to keep our people separated. They believe mixing with humans will weaken us. Mark shook his head. That's not right. We can learn from each other. We can be stronger together. Nira sighed. Some fear change. That day, the news spread fast. Earth's leaders prepared for the possibility of conflict. Mark and Nira found themselves in the center of a growing storm. Late that evening, while they were at home, a sharp sound broke the silence. Outside, bright lights flashed, and low voices could be heard. Mark opened the door carefully. Standing, there were two figures, dressed in unusual armor that shimmered in the night. Their skin was pale, and their eyes cold. We come from Laura, one said, voice harsh. You must end this union. The future of our people depends on it. Mark stepped forward, his voice steady. Nira has chosen her path. We will not be forced apart. The second figure glared. You do not understand the consequences. This marriage is dangerous. It threatens the balance. Nira held Mark's hand tightly. We seek peace and understanding. We want to build bridges, not walls. The figures hesitated, but then withdrew, leaving a warning behind. You have been warned, they said. And this now, or face the consequences. Mark and Nira closed the door, their hearts heavy, but their resolve strong. We cannot run from this. Mark said, we must face it together. Nira nodded. We will show them that love and trust are stronger than fear. In the following days, Mark and Nira worked with Earth's leaders and their own people. They shared knowledge, showed proof of their peaceful intentions, and invited others to meet and learn. But the hostile group from Laura was not silent. They sent messages, made threats, and tried to stir fear among both humans and aliens. Mark and Nira knew they had to act carefully. One night, as they planned their next steps, Nira revealed a secret. There is a way to stop this, she said. A challenge that will decide the future. On Laura, when there is conflict, we have a ritual, a test of strength and wisdom. If I win, the union will be accepted. Mark looked surprised. Can you do that? Face them? Nira smiled with confidence. I am ready, but I will need your support. Together, they prepared for the challenge. Mark trained with Nira, learning about her people's ways, their fighting style, and their customs. He felt proud to stand by her side. The day of the challenge arrived. The place was a large field under the open sky, surrounded by leaders and watchers from both worlds. Nira stepped forward, calm and focused. The hostile leader appeared, strong and fierce. The challenge began with tests of skill and mind. Nira moved with grace and strength, answering questions and facing trials that tested her courage and heart. Mark watched, holding his breath. Finally, after a long struggle, Nira stood victorious. The crowd cheered, and even the hostile leader nodded in respect. This is the way, the leader said. Your bond is strong. We accept it. Mark ran to Nira, lifting her hand in celebration. They had won more than a challenge, they had won hope. As the sun set behind them, Mark and Nira knew their journey was far from over, but together, they could face any storm. Their love had become a symbol of promise that two different worlds could unite in peace. After the challenge on the open field, things began to change slowly but surely. The victory wasn't just for Nira and Mark. It was for the idea that two very different worlds could come together. However, building trust between Earth and Laura was going to take time and effort. Mark woke up early one morning, feeling a mix of hope and responsibility. He knew that his life had changed forever, and now he was part of something bigger than himself. Nira was already awake, studying a map of Earth and her home planet. "We should start by showing both sides what they can gain from each other," Nira said. Her voice calm but determined. Mark nodded. "Yes, people fear what they don't know. If we can help them see the good in this alliance, maybe they will accept it." Together, they made plans to visit leaders from both worlds. Mark met with Earth's Council of Scientists and diplomats, while Nira spoke to her people's elders and advisors. At first, many were cautious. They asked hard questions about trust, safety, and the future. Nira answered with patience. "We share a vision of peace and learning. Our worlds are stronger together," Mark added. "We can help each other grow. Your technology is amazing, and Earth has much to offer too." One of the most important meetings was with Earth's scientists. They were curious about Laura's technology, its power sources, medicine, and communications. Nira showed them small devices that could heal wounds faster and help plants grow. In harsh environments, Mark watched as the scientists' faces changed from doubt to interest. "This could help Earth a lot," one said. Meanwhile, Nira's people were fascinated by Earth's diversity, its music, art, and stories. Nira brought pictures and videos to share. She told her people about Mark's world, about families, friendships, and simple joys like watching the sunset. Slowly, walls began to come down. But not everything was easy. Some on both sides still resisted the idea of joining forces. They saw differences as danger, not opportunity. One day, Mark received a message from an unknown source. It was a warning again. There are those who want to stop this alliance. They believe the worlds must remain separate. Mark showed the message to Nira. She frowned. "Fear is strong, but love and trust are stronger." Together, they decided to organize a public event, a festival to celebrate the new friendship between Earth and Laura. They invited people from both worlds to come, share their cultures, and learn from each other. The day of the festival arrived. The city park was filled with lights, music, and food from both planets. Aliens and humans walked side by side, sharing stories and laughter. Mark watched as Nira danced with children from Earth, her glowing skin shining in the night. He felt proud and hopeful. Leaders from both worlds gave speeches about peace, cooperation. "In the future, this festival is just the beginning," Nira said. "We will build a future together." The festival ended with fireworks that lit the sky in colors no one had seen before. People cheered and smiled, feeling the magic of unity. Mark and Nira stood together, holding hands. "We have come far," Mark said. And Nira nodded. "But there is still much to do." Mark looked at her, his heart full. "We will do it, together." As the stars twinkled above, two worlds were no longer strangers but friends. Their journey was only beginning, but hope was stronger than ever. The day of the wedding arrived faster than Mark expected. After months of learning, planning, and fighting fears, the moment to join their lives officially was near. For Mark and Nira, the wedding was more than a ceremony, it was a symbol of hope for two worlds. Early in the morning, Mark woke with a nervous excitement. He looked out the window and saw the sun rising gently, painting the sky with soft colors. The city was quiet, but soon it would be filled with guests from Earth and Laura. Nira was already preparing in a special room, dressed in a garment made from light fabric that shimmered like the stars. Her skin glowed softly, and her eyes shone with happiness and calm. A small group of close friends and important guests gathered in a beautiful garden, designed to blend Earth and Lauran elements. Flowers from both worlds decorated the space, and soft music played in the background. The ceremony began with words from the leaders of both planets. They spoke about peace, unity, and the courage it took to build bridges between worlds. Mark felt his heart beat faster as Nira walked toward him. She smiled warmly, her hand reaching out. The ceremony was unlike any wedding on Earth. It combined customs from Laura and Earth. Nira explained that on Laura, the couple exchanged not only rings, but also light a small glowing stone that represented their bond. Mark took the glowing stone from Nira's hand, feeling its warmth. "I promise to stand by you, to respect and protect you in all worlds," Nira repeated. "I promise to share my life with you, to grow and learn together." They exchanged rings and the glowing stone, joining their hands after the ceremony. Guests shared food and stories. Nira introduced Earth foods to the Loran visitors, and Mark tried some Loran dishes that were both strange and delicious. Children from both worlds played games, laughing and chasing each other. The joy was clear. Mark and Nira moved through the crowd, greeting friends and new faces. Later, under the stars, Mark took Nira's hand. "This day feels like a new beginning." Nira nodded. "It is. Our love is a symbol, a promise to all who doubt." Suddenly, a message came through Nira's communicator. It was from the hostile faction on Laura. "We accept your union," the message said. "We will watch, but we will not stop you." Mark and Nira looked at each other, relief and hope shining in their eyes. The wedding was not just about two people. It was a sign that peace could be possible, that two very different worlds could come together. As the night deepened, Mark and Nira stood side by side, ready for whatever the future held. Their journey was far from over, but now they faced it, as partners in love and in hope. The stars above Earth shone brighter than ever before, or at least it felt that way to Mark and Nira. Their wedding had brought not only joy, but a message of hope to both Earth and Laura. People from both planets had watched it live, and it became a story shared across news channels, schools, and homes. But marriage was not the end, it was the beginning of something much greater. After the ceremony, Mark and Nira stayed in the garden where they had married. They sat under a glowing tree, its branches filled with tiny lights that had been gifted from Nira's homeworld. Earth's soft breeze mixed with Laura's gentle light, and it felt like two worlds truly sitting side by side. "We did it," Mark said, still holding Nira's hand. "Yes," Nira smiled. "But now we must prove to the world that this was not just a dream. We must work together to build what we promised." And they did. In the weeks that followed, Mark and Nira began their new life not only as husband and wife, but as ambassadors of peace. Earth's leaders invited them to speak at global meetings. Laura's High Council asked them to guide young minds about Earth's values and strengths. Mark shared stories about human kindness, courage, and creativity. He told Laura's people about the beauty of Earth's cultures, its music, books, food, and traditions. Nira, in return, introduced Earth's people to the wisdom and knowledge of Laura. She helped Earth's scientists understand how her people grew food in dry lands, healed wounds with light, and lived in balance with nature. Together, they started a new program called the Bridge Initiative, a project meant to help humans and Laurans study together, work together, and live together peacefully. A special space station was built between Earth and Laura's travel routes, where both races could meet, learn, and create together. Many were excited, but some still watched from the shadows, waiting for failure. One day, as Mark and Nira visited a new Loran learning center on Earth, they were met with questions from students. A young girl stood up. "What if people never stop fearing each other? What if this peace fails one day?" Nira paused for a moment, then smiled gently. "Fear is like darkness. It only disappears when we turn on the light. We must keep being the light, no matter how dark the room becomes." The students clapped, and Mark felt proud. But even with all the progress, small signs of trouble appeared. A few trade agreements between the two planets were delayed. Some groups on Earth protested outside the peace buildings, and on Laura, a group that had once remained silent started speaking against the bridge between worlds again. "They still don't trust," Mark told Nira one night. "Even after everything, they are afraid of change," Nira said softly. "But we cannot stop. We must show them peace by living it. Then, something unexpected happened. A small disaster struck one of Earth's coastal cities. A powerful storm destroyed homes and cut power to thousands. Mark and Nira immediately offered help. Nira contacted Laura, and within hours, her people sent floating energy pods, food makers, and healing lights. The Laurens arrived quickly, helping people rebuild their homes and treat the injured. At first, the humans were unsure. But when they saw how fast the Laurens worked and how gentle they were, they changed. One man, standing near his broken house, looked at a Lauren volunteer and said, "I didn't trust you before, but now I do. Thank you." The news spread. Photos of humans and aliens working side by side filled the internet. It was a moment that changed many hearts. Mark and Nira stood on the edge of the ocean that evening, watching the Laurens help repair the city lights. "This is what peace looks like," Mark said. Double quotes, yes. Nira agreed, not just in words, but in action. From that day forward, more and more people joined their cause. Children grew up learning about both worlds. New art, music, and science came from the mix of Earth and Lauren knowledge. 10 years passed. Mark and Nira lived in a beautiful home that floated gently above a lake, part Lauren design, part Earth construction. They had a small garden with plants. From both planets, they still traveled, still taught, and still worked as leaders of the Bridge Initiative. One quiet morning, as they sat together under the glowing tree that had once decorated their wedding, Nira turned to Mark. "Do you remember the first thing you ever said to me?" she asked. Mark smiled. "Yes, I called you beautiful." Nira laughed softly. "You changed both our lives with one simple word." Mark took her hand and nodded. "And I would say it again, every day." Their love had started with a simple word and grown into something bigger than either of them had imagined. It had united planets, defeated fear, and inspired millions. As the twin sons of Earth and Laura rose high in the sky, one real, one reflected in the lake's surface, Mark and Nira sat side by side, two souls from different worlds, now forever one. And so, the story of a human and an alien woman, bound by kindness and courage, became a legend for generations to come.